All right, so here goes. Never thought I'd be one of those people sharing their life drama on the internet, but here we are. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks, and honestly, I just need to vent and maybe get some advice on how to navigate this mess. For context, I'm a mid level employee at a firm where I've been putting in the hard yards, hoping for a promotion to finally come my way. My boss, let's call him Mr. Smith, is the kind of guy who's always joking around, but sometimes you can't tell if he's serious or not. So, the other day, Mr. Smith calls me into his office for what I assume is going to be a discussion about the new project I pitched. I'm all prepped, got my presentation on point, and I'm thinking, this is it, this is my moment. But the conversation takes a turn I did not see coming. Mr. Smith starts off with the usual chit-chat, asking about my weekend, and then out of nowhere he says, I've been thinking about your promotion. My heart starts racing because finally, all my hard work is going to pay off. But then he follows up with, how about we discuss this over dinner, just you and me? I laugh it off, thinking it's just another one of his jokes. But he has this look, that makes me think twice. I mumble something about needing to check my calendar, and he just smiles, saying, let me know. I leave his office feeling like I've just stepped out of a twilight zone. Back at my desk, I'm trying to process what just happened. Did my boss really just hint at exchanging a promotion for a date? No way. But the more I think about it, the less sure I am. I decide to confide in a coworker. Let's call her Lucy. Lucy's been with the company longer than I have, and she's seen it all. I figure if anyone can give me some perspective, it's her. I find Lucy in the break room, heating up her lunch. Hey, can I talk to you about something weird? I start, and she immediately looks concerned. I spill the beans, telling her every detail of my conversation with Mr. Smith. Lucy listens, nodding along, and when I finish, she sighs. Honestly, it wouldn't be the first time he's pulled something like this. Mr. Smith has a reputation, but I've never seen it firsthand. Great, just great. Now I'm questioning not only the intentions of my boss, but also the integrity of the company I've been busting my chops for. Lucy advises me to document everything and maybe talk to HR if things escalate. I'm not thrilled about the idea of making a formal complaint. It feels like a career suicide mission, but Lucy insists it's better to have a record. I spend the next few days on edge, avoiding Mr. Smith as much as possible. But it's a small office, and our paths cross more times than I'd like. He's acting like nothing happened, but every so often, there's a comment or a look that makes my stomach turn. I start documenting every interaction, no matter how small. Part of me feels paranoid, but another part is scared of what might happen if I don't protect myself. It's a weird limbo, and I hate it. I miss the days when my biggest worry was whether I'd nailed a presentation or not. Then, things take an even stranger turn. Another coworker, let's call him Mike, pulls me aside one afternoon. Mike's a good guy, always quick with a joke, and we've worked on a few projects together. He's straightforward, which I appreciate. Hey, I don't know if it's my place, but I've noticed Mr. Smith's been, paying you a lot of attention lately, Mike starts, looking genuinely concerned. My heart sinks. So, it's not just in my head. Others are noticing it too. Mike continues, look, if you ever need someone to talk to, or, I don't know, a witness or something, I've got your back. His offer is kind, and it's the first time in days I feel like maybe I'm not alone in this. I thank Mike, and we agree to keep an eye out for each other. It's a small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. The rest of the day, I can't shake off the feeling of gratitude mixed with a dose of renewed anxiety. It's one thing to deal with unwanted advances, but it's another to realize your workplace might not be as safe as you thought. As the days go by, I wrestle with what to do next. Do I confront Mr. Smith directly? Do I go to HR? Do I just keep my head down and hope for the best? Each option carries its own set of risks and consequences, and I'm at a loss. In the meantime, I pour myself into my work, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy. But it's hard. Every meeting, every email, every casual conversation in the hallway feels tainted by this underlying tension. I miss the simplicity of my job, the days when my biggest concern was whether my work was good enough, not whether my boss had ulterior motives. The tension at work was becoming unbearable. Each day felt longer than the last, and I found myself dreading the sound of Mr. Smith's voice. Despite my best efforts to keep things professional, the awkwardness was palpable. That's when I decided it was time to have a chat with Lucy again. Maybe she'd have some new insight, or at the very least, I could vent without feeling like I was going crazy. I caught Lucy during one of our rare slow moments, whispering, "Can we talk? It's about Mr. Smith again." Lucy glanced around before nodding, leading us to a secluded corner. "What's going on? Did he say something else to you?" I recounted the latest interactions, the veiled comments, and Mike's offer to help. Lucy listened intently, her brows furrowing in concern. "This is getting out of hand," she finally said. "You can't let this slide. It might be time to consider talking to HR. I know. It's just, what if it backfires? What if it's my word against his?" The fear in my voice was evident, even to me. Lucy placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You have Mike as a witness, right? And I'm sure others have noticed something off. Plus, you've been documenting everything. That's good. It'll help your case." Her confidence was comforting, but the thought of escalating things officially made my stomach churn. We agreed to revisit the conversation after giving it some more thought. A few days later, I was working late, lost in a sea of spreadsheets, when Mr. Smith's voice broke the silence. "Working hard or hardly working?" he joked, appearing in the doorway of my cubicle. I forced a smile. "Just trying to wrap up this project." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You know, about our previous conversation, I was serious. Dinner could be beneficial for both of us." I froze, my heart pounding. This was it, the moment to stand up for myself. "Mr. Smith, I really appreciate the opportunities here, but I think it's best if we keep our relationship professional." His expression darkened momentarily before he laughed it off. Of course. Just a suggestion," he said, backing away. The moment he left, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. That encounter confirmed it. I had to do something. The next morning, with a mix of dread and determination, I reached out to HR. I requested a meeting, vaguely stating it was about a sensitive issue concerning my manager. Sitting in the HR office later that day, I felt like I was about to step into battle. The HR manager, Ms. Carter, greeted me warmly. "What can I help you with today?" she asked. Taking a deep breath, I began. "This is difficult for me to say, but I've been experiencing some uncomfortable situations with my manager, Mr. Smith." I detailed everything, from the initial joke about a date for promotion to the latest encounter, including Mike's observation and offer to support me. Ms. Carter listened intently, taking notes. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take these matters very seriously. I'll need to investigate, which will involve speaking to Mr. Smith, Mike, and possibly others in the office. Can you provide the documentation you mentioned?" I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders, albeit slightly. "Yes, I can email everything to you. We'll handle this discreetly and ensure there's no retaliation against you for coming forward," Ms. Carter assured me. Leaving the HR office, I felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, anxiety, but mostly a sense of empowerment. I had taken the first step in standing up for myself, and while the outcome was uncertain, I knew I had done the right thing. The next few days were a blur of whispered conversations and furtive glances. Word had gotten out about my complaint, as things often do in tight-knit office environments. Mike gave me a knowing nod, silently reaffirming his support. Then, the moment of truth arrived. Ms. Carter called me back into her office. "We've completed our preliminary investigation," she began, her expression unreadable. "We found that your claims are substantiated by multiple accounts from other employees. Mr. Smith will be going on administrative leave effective immediately, pending a more thorough investigation." I was speechless. Part of me had feared my words would fall on deaf ears, but HR had listened. They took me seriously. "As for you," Ms. Carter continued, "we appreciate your courage in coming forward. We're discussing ways to ensure a comfortable work environment for you and others. This includes training sessions on workplace conduct for the entire team." Walking out of the HR office that day, I felt a mixture of relief and apprehension about what the future held. But one thing was clear. I had faced my fears head on, and no matter what came next, I was stronger for it. A week after my meeting with HR, the office atmosphere was noticeably different. The tension that had been hanging over us like a thick fog seemed to dissipate overnight. Mr. Smith's absence was like removing a splinter that had been causing discomfort for far too long. But the real twist was yet to come. It was a typical Thursday morning when Lucy rushed over to my desk, her eyes wide with shock. "You're not going to believe this," she gasped, barely able to contain herself. "What's happened?" I asked, bracing myself for anything. "It's about Mr. Smith. He's not coming back. But that's not the shocker. They're promoting someone internally to take his place, and you'll never guess who." My mind raced. "Who?" "You," Lucy exclaimed, grabbing my shoulders in excitement. I was floored. "Me? But how? Why?" Apparently, the investigation into Mr. Smith brought to light not just the issues you faced, but also how much you've contributed to this company. Plus, your handling of the situation showed leadership qualities they couldn't ignore. I sat there, stunned, trying to process the news. It felt surreal, like a dream I might wake up from at any moment. As the news sunk in, I started to feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. Was I ready for this? Could I fill Mr. Smith's shoes, given everything that had happened? Later that day, I was called into a meeting with senior management. They formally offered me the promotion, praising my work ethic and the professionalism I had demonstrated. "Thank you, I'm overwhelmed," I managed to say. "But I have to ask, given everything, how do we ensure a healthy work environment moving forward?" The room nodded in understanding. "We're implementing new policies and training based on your feedback and the HR investigation. We want to make this a place where everyone feels valued and safe. You'll be a big part of driving that change," one of the senior managers explained. I left the meeting with a whirlwind of thoughts. This was an opportunity to make a real difference, not just for myself, but for my colleagues as well. It was daunting, but also incredibly empowering. A few days into my new role, Mike stopped by my office. "Hey, boss," he joked, a wide grin on his face. "Heard you might be looking for a new team lead. Think I could throw my hat in the ring?" I laughed, appreciating the moment of lightness. "Sure, Mike. Let's talk about it. And thank you for everything." "No problem. We've got your back, remember?" As the days turned into weeks, I began to settle into my new role. There were challenges, of course, but also moments of real progress. The office felt different, more collaborative and inclusive. It was as if we were all part of something new, something better. Reflecting on everything that had happened, I realized this unexpected journey had taught me so much about resilience, integrity, and the power of speaking out. I had gone from feeling powerless to being in a position where I could influence change and advocate for others. So, to everyone out there facing their own struggles, remember, your voice matters. Sometimes, the most challenging situations can lead to the most unexpected and rewarding outcomes. Keep pushing forward and don't be afraid to stand up for what's right. You never know where it might lead you. And that's the end of my story. A tale of adversity turned opportunity, of finding strength in the face of challenges. Thanks for sticking with me through this roller coaster. Here's to new beginnings and making a difference, one step at a time.